everyone. Welcome to episode 11 in the EC Leader Show. So excited to be here today. Today we're going to be talking about the exact script to work with the defensive teacher. So do me a favor, as you come into the group, let me know one specific example where you've had to meet with a defensive teacher. My little man is a little crabby today because he's wearing pink clothes because I couldn't find his blue sweater, so he's wearing his sister's sweater. That's what happens when you get the fourth kid. Sorry, mister, you're wearing pink clothes today. In any event, let me know in the comments what is one example where you had to meet with a defensive teacher, because as I move through the script, I want to customize it. So, let's see who is here today. So again, let me know in the comments. I know a bunch of people are here live. So let me know in the comments, what is one specific example of, hey Crystal, what is one specific example of meeting with a defensive teacher so that I could customize what's going on. So I'll just wait a minute, actually. Awesome. Hey Lisa, monthly check-in with a teacher who's resistant to have a curriculum coach around. Okay. Hey Paula, welcome. Thank you, Lisa, for being specific. I appreciate that. Awesome. Okay, so yes, Lisa, monthly check-in with the teacher is resistant to have a curriculum coach around. Okay, so I'm going to get started with the very specifics of how we run this script actually, and just how everything actually works. Okay, so my little guy here is already a little bit fussy, but hopefully he'll hang in there. Just gonna open up over here. Okay, so the first thing is when you're getting started with the meeting, when you're meeting with the defensive teacher, is you're getting started off with real data. So when you're meeting with most teachers, it's fine if you have like some examples or just, some stories or anecdotes, but when you're meeting with a defensive teacher, you have to have real data. Two types of data. The first type of data that you need to have is concrete data on why she is an asset to the school, why you're grateful that she's there, and why she's an asset to the school. Okay, so before meeting with her, you're going to take a week of observing and taking data of why she's a valuable asset in the school. That's the first way to prep for this meeting before I even get to the script. The second thing that you're going to be bringing data is specific examples of what you're talking to her about. So, for example, Crystal just shared a really great example when a teacher is completely resistant to change or following a policy. You need to be specific when you're going to have that conversation with her. Which policy is she being not following through? Is she being defensive about? What is that specifically about? So that's like a perfect example. Or Paula's example, a teacher stuck in an old school teaching. That's not specific enough, right? So I totally understand what you're referring to, but when you're meeting with the teacher, when you're prepping for that meeting, you need to be super specific. What is she clinging to, and how is that impacting the school? So that's the third thing, which is number one, you're getting started with data, why she's a valuable asset to the school. You want to have 3 specific examples. The other thing is you want to have 2 specific data points of what you're meeting with her about. So whether it's about that she is not following the school policy, she's following an old school of teaching, you got to be specific about that. And then the third piece is, how does this impact the school? How does it impact everyone and the school in that she's not following policy, in that she's following an old school of teaching, and that she's resistant to have a curriculum coach? How is that impacting the school? Okay, so those are the first 3 ways that you prepare for this meeting. So let me know in the comment section if you're following along so far, and then I'm going to go into how you actually talk to this teacher. Okay, so Crystal, very good point. Points blame on children or the class being too pushy. Okay, so again, I love that you're getting more specific. We want to get even more specific. So when you're collecting the data, you're going to be specific in as far as when you have this conversation with her, you're going to be specific. And here are the 2 things that I've noticed. Okay, so actually let me back up and let me get started on structuring the conversation. So when you're meeting with a defensive teacher, what's really important is to lay the 2 ground rules of the meeting. So you sit down and you say, thank you so much for coming. I know that I called the meeting and I'd like to talk to you about a couple of things. Before we get started, I wanted to share 2 very important rules that we'll have for this meeting. Number 1 is, no, I forgot already what I wrote for number 1. Okay. Number 1 is no interrupting each other. That's the first rule of the meeting. Especially when you're meeting with a defensive teacher, you must lay the groundwork. So you tell her it works both ways. I can't interrupt you and you cannot interrupt me. And the reason for that is because I'm going to be sharing a couple of things with you, and I know that sometimes I can right away want to jump in and interrupt and share my point of view, and I know you like to do the same thing. There's nothing wrong with that, but what's really important here is that we're going to come to a conclusion and a solution. So let's start with rule number 1, we're not going to interrupt each other. Rule number 2, there's no getting defensive. What I mean by that is that if I'm sharing something specific, you need to wait till I'm done, and then you can share your point of view, how you're seeing it. This isn't about defending each other. So for example, if you're going to share something and I feel like you're pointing blame or whatever it is, I'm not going to be defending myself. I'm going to share with you my point of view and how I'm seeing it. Excuse me. So those are 2 strictly very important rules to lay down, especially when you're meeting with a defensive teacher, because she is going to interrupt and she is going to get defensive, meeting with a defensive teacher. So you're going to lay the ground rules in that here's what to do instead. Here's how we're going to play this game. Because defensive teachers come with a huge backpack, total subconsciously. They come with shaming, blaming, crying, averting eye contact, averting responsibility, pointing fingers at everyone else, saying, fine, do it your way, passive aggressiveness. They come with everything. They will do anything not to take the heat of what's going on. And so you are coming super prepared. You know every trick that they got in their bag, and you're coming way prepared beforehand. So that's how we're starting off. You're laying the ground rules, the 2 rules of the meeting, and then we'll go into some specific scripts. So let me know in the comments if you guys are following along so far. Let's see here. Sounds good so far. All right, awesome. Thank you, Lisa, for being the voice here. Okay, so you laid the ground rules. You both agree. Great, we're moving on. Now you start off with, so let's say the teacher's name is Sarah. Sarah, recently I've been taking some time to observe in the classes, and I just wanted to share with you, a couple things that I noticed and why I'm so grateful that you're part of our team. And then you're going to share, hey, Donna, so happy to see you here. Hi, Ellen. Awesome. Thanks for commenting. Okay. So then you're going to start off with sharing 3 specific examples. You'll tell her, Sarah, in the past couple weeks, I've been observing in the different classes, and something that I've noticed, just a pattern is that whenever, I'm total spitballing 3 compliments here. So 1 could be about her supplies, how her supply closet's always super clean, and you really appreciate the fact that it's always clean because it impacts everybody else. Whenever she leaves the supply room, it's always neat, and that makes it super easy for everyone else to be able to get their supplies. So that's one reason why you're grateful that she's part of the team. Another reason, you're always super punctual. You're here way before the time. You clock in. Your classroom runs, super smooth because of that. And it impacts morale and the fact that you're always here on time. You're always punctual. And I really appreciate it. The third thing is that you're always positive. There's always a smile. Whenever I come in, I know that I'm always going to be greeted with a smile. And I'm really grateful that you're here. And then just let it sink in. A lot of times when we share the compliment, we always say something like, and, or but, or however, and we always make this second thing that comes along with that. And you want to let that compliment really sink in. You want to let the teacher really feel like, wow. Then you're going to transition into why you call the meeting. So I call this meeting here because I really want to talk to you about this specific thing. So let's say you're talking about a specific policy. So let's say she's not following the policy of, taking snacks from the specific cabinet. She decides that she wants to take snacks from her own house or whatever she decides to do. And the school policy is that snacks need to be taken from this cabinet at this time, or whatever it is. Or you know what, if not, I don't have to make up a policy. Someone post in the comment section one of your policies that you found a teacher frequently having a hard time following through with. Let's do it that way. And like this, we can make it super practical for everyone. All right, so I'll take a second here. Someone just post something, any policy or any specific thing that you want me to run through a script with. Whoever posts it first will get me to walk through the script with them. So let's see here. No cell phones on the floor. I love it. Crystal for the win. Okay, awesome. So just give me some more data. So the policy in your school, is standard in your school, is no cell phones while they are in the classes. And tell me what she's been doing. So just give me a little bit of data. Ashley says no use of cell phones as well. Yes, indeed. And Donna is definitely a very common problem. Absolutely. Okay. Oh, you know what? I'm actually going to... And then, yeah, following protocol when calling out sick. Okay, so you know what? I'm actually going to use these two examples. Okay, so I'm going to do the following protocol when calling in sick because the cell phones is very broad. It really depends on what your standard is, what your policy is, and there's just a lot going on there. So I'm going to do the following protocol when calling in sick. So following protocol when calling in sick is they have to call in, let's say, for example, they have to text the director or whatever it is, and the teacher just does whatever she wants, okay? So you're calling her in and you're saying, I'd like to talk to you about our standard for calling in sick. So the past couple times that you needed to call in sick, the past couple times that you weren't here, this is what happened. And you're going to give her very specific data. So what's really important when you're meeting with a defensive teacher is that it can't be on your emotions, on your assumptions, on what other teachers told you. It's got to be what you actually saw. So if you're meeting with her about the fact that she doesn't call in sick or she doesn't follow the protocol, you want to have data points on that. So when you were out on Monday the 25th, this is what happened. When you were out on Thursday, the 1st of the month, this is what happened. You want to have 2 or 3 data points. And the reason for that is because a lot of times defensive teachers, not a lot of times, 99% of the time, they are so unself-aware. They do not even realize how many times they're doing that. So a lot of times in their minds, it's just like, oh, whatever, it was one time. But when you actually bring the data point to them and it's like, no, it wasn't one time, it was 4 times. That's different than one time. You're not going to call in a teacher to talk to her about following the protocol if one time she didn't follow the protocol. You call her into her office, you send her an email, you walk into her thing and say, I just want to remind you what the protocol is. But when you're having this face-to-face meeting, this is not after a one-time thing. This is after like 2 or 3 times that she's not following through with this. And so you have to bring the data because she has to see it in front of her face. So on the 1st, on the 2nd, on the 25th, you just didn't show up. You called in the last second, and the protocol is that you need to call in the night before if you feel like you're running a fever or whatever it is your protocol is. And you're giving her those specific examples. And then you're following up and saying, I know this is not what you want. I know that you are a responsible teacher, just like I was sharing with you before. I know that you always come on time or whatever it is, and you're always responsible about the supply closet, and I know this is not who you are. However, sometimes we have a hard time seeing how we're showing up, and that's why I wanted to have this meeting with you. Because especially with a defensive teacher, they're very unaware of how they're actually showing up in the classroom. So a lot of times, again, cell phones, the reason why I'm like taking a side point on it is because cell phones are an addiction. They don't even realize what they're doing. And so that's why getting data points on in the last month, whenever I pass by your room, I saw you on your phone. So whenever I pass by your room, I passed by your room 6 times in the past 2 weeks, and I saw you on your phone. So in the past 2 weeks, you were on your phone 6 times. And our policy is no cell phone use on the floor. So now you're giving data. She's like, 6 times? I wasn't on my phone 6 times. So now you're being like specific. So when I passed by your office, your classroom in the morning, I noticed that you were on your phone, by the dashboard. Or, in the afternoon when I was passing by and I was, walking around with a prospective parent, I noticed that you were on your phone in the carpet. You're being super specific. This isn't about like being sneaky or whatever it is. You're being right up front with her. I saw you. This was done 6 times. This is unacceptable. Like, you're bringing to the forefront how she's actually showing up. So let's just see here. I said constantly in on it, hiding it. Ashley says, we have a policy that states all cell phones are banned from classroom. Staff are allowed to take them on field trips or emergencies. However, we have staff that continue to use them while putting children to sleep. At quiet time, we've spoken to them. However, now we catch them instantly sneaking it back into their pockets as we walk in. Yeah, that is a perfect example of having a conversation with the teacher of how she's showing up. Saying, when I come into the room, I notice that you're putting it back in your pocket. I don't want to play policeman. This isn't high school. You guys are grown-ups. You get paychecks. This is a job. This is a real job. So we need to figure out a different way of how we're doing this. Now, when you're going to lay out the facts on the table, the first thing she's going to start doing is being defensive. It's not such a big deal, whatever. Rule number 1, we're not getting defensive. This is what I've seen. This is what's happening. This is real data. This is what's going on. I want to focus on the future, on the solution. The way that you're showing up is not going to be tolerated. So we need to figure out how we're going to move forward with this. I don't want to come into your room and continue sneaking it back in. And telling me that you're going to hide it better from me isn't really an option either. So let's figure out what we're going to do. Why are you having the phone out? Is there like a specific reason for the kids that you need it? And just like having that conversation with them about that. So that's the piece about when they start getting defensive, is that we're not having a conversation about whether you're right or wrong or this or that. This is the facts. This is what I saw. We need to figure out a solution. We purchased a cell phone locker. They are no longer allowed in the classroom, or it's grounds for termination. Fired someone this week because she still used it even after signing the paper that it's not allowed. She lied about it, and then we showed her the video on 4 separate times. Yeah, unfortunately, this is so... It's so sad that it had to come to this point, and I'm so sorry, Donna, that like had to happen. It's so frustrating also as a director. You're like, oh my gosh, I had to fire someone because of a cell phone. But then also remembering, like, it's like a real addiction. The phones, like, it really is. It's like the new drugs. And so it's not new anymore. And so again, like, the defensive teacher is going to lie about it and whatever it is. So this is just like, again, that, example about meeting with the teacher very specifically about that. The next thing we want to go into is the solution. So really talking to her and saying, look, we need to figure out a solution. So I want to talk to you about what are some options you think we could do. And so her initial response is going to be like, I don't have any options. Okay, well, let's brainstorm about it. Let's figure out some options that we can do. I want you to think about some ideas. We could follow up and talk about it. Or if you want a couple minutes, we could both, sit quietly. We could think about some ideas. The point is that you want to get some input from her first, because you want the ideas to be hers. And the biggest thing that you want to make sure is that you don't fall into the trap of where these teachers like kind of badger for more time. So they'll say things like, yeah, I know, I'm going to be good. I'm going to be good. So I always like give the example of like my 7-year-old who's like, yeah, it's okay. Just give me another chance. I'm going to be good this time. No, now's not the time for second chances. Maybe tomorrow I could give you a second chance. Right now, you need to go into your room. Or, whatever it is, whatever his consequences for whatever behavior. And so when the teacher says something like, it's okay, it's fine, you could trust me now. I'm sorry, right now I can't do that. Because after these 4 times, we need to figure out a different option, because your word of telling me that I should trust you right now, I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable with that. Yeah, it's totally a supervision violation, of course. Looking at your phone is so that's the thing where you're talking about the impact piece. Like, how is it impacting? It's impacting the kids. You're here to take care of the kids. So again, like there's a reason why there's like an $800 ticket on a cell phone and points on your license. You have to fight in court with a lawyer. There's a reason that there's such a massive, massive fine on texting while you're driving or holding your phone because it could kill somebody. That's why there's such a fine on that. And so the same thing is in the classroom is that why do we take such drastic measures? Because it's not safe. It's just not safe. Something is always, always going to happen when you're distracted, when you're not on your, when you're on your phone. Okay. Let me just see here. Constantly internet, using the tablet to hide it, pretending to do documentation, but it's on their phone. Yeah. So again, Crystal, just going back to your piece over here is that you need to get data on that. So like, that she's pretending to like play on her phone and she's pretending to do documentation. She's really on her phone. You want to show her in that kind of way. Like, look, we need to be honest with each other. We need to be transparent about what's happening. I know that you're playing on your phone. And so do you need more breaks? Like, do you need time to get out of the classroom and take another breath? Do you want to go grab a cup of coffee? Like, let's talk about some other ways where you could release that because the phone is not an option anymore. So I want to sum up over here because we're getting a little bit closer to our half-hour time slot. So we started off with preparing for the meeting. Number 1, take the time to observe in the classes and get 3 pieces of concrete data of why you're grateful that she is part of the team. The second piece is get specific data on the specific thing you're talking to her about, whether it's a policy, a standard, the cell phones, whatever it is. You want to get 2 or 3 pieces of data of how she's actually showing up. When you meet with her, you start off the meeting by laying the ground rules. Number 1, there's no interrupting. Number 2, there's no getting defensive. We're only sharing data. And number 3, by the end of this meeting, we're going to create a solution about this specific issue that's been coming up. As you start off the meeting, you're sharing the 3 specific reasons. Then you dive into how she's showing up, sharing those specific examples. You're going to hear her side of the story as well. The main thing is you want to make sure that you can answer this question. At the end of this meeting, we're going to have a solution. Whether the solution means that both of you are going to come up with options and then meet again in 2 days, that's fine. The point is that there needs to be some kind of tangible solution to that specific meeting. And you didn't just meet there just to talk and now nothing really happened from it. So let me know in the comments before I dig out over here if this was helpful, if you found some of the talking points beforehand valuable. So just give me a quick yes in the comment section. While we're doing that, I'm just going to let you guys know. So part of the scripting, which is just so, so important, is knowing the script of talking also to the different kinds of parents. So the hostile parent, the parent who's denial, the emotionally abusive parent, abrasive, checked out parent. So Dr. Diaz, who's an NYU, thank you, Donna, appreciate that. God, totally lost my train of thought. So Dr. Diaz, who is a child clinical psychologist, is going to be speaking at the EC Leadership Live event, and she's going to be talking. She's going to be doing a whole session just on scripts. So how to talk to this kind of parent, this kind of parent, this kind of parent, this kind of parent. And then she's going to be digging into also how to prep for that meeting. She's going to be giving like a specific blueprint that you guys are going to get access to in the Vault, which is going to be a whole vault of PDFs and resources that you're going to get access to after the live event. And she's going to be digging into specifically how to prep your teacher for that meeting, because there's only so many times that you can meet with the parents and run the meeting. Eventually, if you're building a school of excellence, your teachers need to be able to do this. And so she's going to be digging into how to actually do that as well. So she's going to be one of the speakers at our event. The other thing, yeah, Lisa, you totally could just jump into the Facebook group and she could watch the replay. Totally, yeah, not a problem. So she's going to be one of the speakers at our event. We're also going to be having 2 other speakers I'm going to talk about a different time. The biggest thing at the EC Leadership Live event is that we're going to be mapping out our year. We're going to be mapping out what your staff meeting looks like, what's your strategy for morale, what's your strategy for retention, what's going to be your strategy for building your culture, like all the different strategies and how you're laying it out September, October, November, December, January, like what you're going to be focusing on every single month of the year. Because you can't implement everything in September. So we have to take the time to really break that down. And that's going to be a big part of what we're going to be focusing on at the event. In addition to that, we're going to be talking about our implementation strategy. So that's where the way that we're setting up the conference is going to be with a pre-call, so how to prep for the event. The event itself is 2 days. Then we're going to be having 2 follow-up support sessions where we're going to be having one structured right after and one month into the school year. So that everything that you learned at the event is going to be making sure that it is directly implanted into your school. So that the time that you spent for 2 days taking in information, figuring out how to implement strategy is actually going to happen, because I'm going to be following up with everyone and holding every single person accountable at the event itself. That's why we're limiting it to 50 people. So that being said, so glad everyone came here tonight. If you're watching tonight, you're watching the replay, send me a private message or leave a comment, more info if you want more info on the live event. We already have 15 tickets of the live event sold. So we have a bunch more left for the live event. Again, it's capped at 50. And I'm looking forward to seeing a bunch of you guys there. A bunch of people who are live now are going to be joining us. So excited about that. Anyways, I'm going to chap out. I got to take care of my little baby here. Thank you everyone that joined live. And looking forward to seeing everyone later. All the best. Good night.